What's going on, guys? Dan here, DSP Shop. Last time we were working on this 56 Chevy Wagon, man, we really took a complete running and driving car, pulled the motor out, transmission out, the rear ends out of it, like, what the hell are we doing? But I do feel as though this is a real project that could be very relatable to a lot of you guys who have a running driving car and you simply want to upgrade it, modify it any which way to something that's maybe a little more, I don't know, highway friendly or user friendly, you know, fuel injection, all that sort of stuff. A little overdrive transmission. So now what we're going to do, we got to get into the trickery of it. I mean, a motor and transmission, in my mind, super easy, take in and out. You know, they sell every kit for it, especially if you're working with a, you know, Tri-5 Chevy or a Mustang or a Camaro or a Chevelle. Pick up a book, order what you want, and pretty much can make it happen. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to change the rear end. So the old one's coming out. It's just sitting there. As you can see, I've made a mess. And we have the jerry can on the ground, so I'm just draining the fuel tank. While the rear end is out, I'm going to pull the fuel tank out. This is probably going to have to happen a couple of times, unfortunately, in this project, where the rear end is going to have to kind of go up and down. But the goal today is to get the rear end in, tack welded in place, clamp down, so we have a roller again. But in the meantime, with no motor, no transmission, we sure as heck don't need a fuel tank. This fuel tank is going to have to be modified. Now, this is where you're going to listen to me complain for a minute. Tri-5 Chevy, super common. The wagon fuel tank for an EFI is like $1,000 American. So it's like, be like $1,500 by the time I got it Canadian and duty and shipping and all that. So we're not doing that. There's a tank in there, which was full of gas. It's a stock tank. I'm going to try and clean it out really well, get all the crap out of it. I ordered some stuff to convert the factory tank into an EFI tank, which I've done once before, which wasn't too bad. But this one, unfortunately, I think I have to cut and modify and lower a little bit in the one little section where the pickup's going to come out. And welding and grinding on a fuel tank seems a little dangerous. So we're going to take it out, clean it out, you know, blow it all out, do all that stuff. I saw some guys in there how they're going to clean it up to get all the solvent and fume out of it. But that'll be a future video when you get to watch me blow me up. Myself blow myself up. Anyways, for right now, I'm going to take that tank out. We'll go get cleaned up. We'll get back to work on this rear end. Cards on the table. It's been a couple of days since I've been out in the garage. I've been screwing around. Now, I'm going to give you my excuse was, it smelled like gas in here, and I had gas all over everything, and I didn't want to be grinding and welding around gas because, well, I don't want to blow up. But the reality is I was out, I went and looked at a couple of motors. I actually bought a transmission. Whoop! Little spoiler alert. I think this will be the little kit car transmission, so that's a Super T10. Fine spline, bigger countershaft, and the 32 spline like the Turbo 400 style yoke, so fairly skookum for what we're doing, and ultimately all we're doing is blazing tires. We'll see. I still got to get obviously shift linkage and clutch. I need to find a bell housing. There's a lot of stuff, but that was the number one thing. The guy gave me a deal on it. It looks pretty decent, so I'm excited about that. I think that'll be fun. Now, where we left it here, well, I had done not much. The rear end is just kind of sitting in there, the old Chevy one. We got to rip that out. I think I'm going to cut the exhaust off at the mufflers because, oh, it looks like the exhaust fell. I might just take the whole exhaust right out, actually, while I'm at it. It's going to need to be modified anyways, and I didn't like the way I did the tailpipes. It's very tight to get in there with the fuel tank, so I might redo it when I do the exhaust on the new motor and put the mufflers where I want it, just put some pipes to it so it has some exhaust, and then actually take it to a proper exhaust place to have proper tailpipes put on, because it's tight in there. And now I don't know if the shocks or anything are going to be in a different location or what we're going to do there. I might just do that. I'll put the other rear end in, but anyways, let's get this all cut out. We'll get the exhaust out, get the rear end pulled out, get some of this stuff maybe tossed in the car. Oh, it's already full. For some storage, make a bit of a clean up a little bit. Then we're going to start grinding on the new rear end because we got to cut off all the existing mounts. And I have to get the other ones inside, I forgot, but new pedestals, and we'll get this thing plunked into place. Should be that easy. Okay, so that came out, I've got my nerd glasses on, came out pretty smooth. Couple of things to show you. So this is the exhaust which I had cobbled together. It's a bunch of different pieces of kind of who knows what. And what I really didn't like about it, this is the way it is in the car. It goes out and we had it go down and back up over the transmission crossmember, and that was me kind of being cheap and actually reminded me I should probably order a new transmission crossmember or modify this one. This is what I had in there. It's literally a piece of probably 1.5 or 2 inch square, and it just went right across. I had to modify it for like a different mount and all that. I mean, it was pretty chintz, but you know, typically it'd have like a little cutout where the exhaust could kind of flow through. They sell some tubular ones actually on Amazon. I should go look at. If I find that people are always asking me, I'll show you where I got it or whatever. That's that. The only good part about this whole exhaust, man, look how cobbled and bent and around. Like, good God. I never even finished welding it. Well, that's some DD speed up right there. Well, these mufflers are awesome. They're from Lyle's. And then up and over, and yeah, look at the tailpipes. They're barely on. The welds even broke off. So we'll see. This might be the car that gets a proper exhaust put on, whatever. But so that's that. I think I'm going to go ahead and drag that rear end outside. We'll just cut it up outside. Gotta get my jacket on. We'll cut the tabs off, and then I'll bring the other ones out. We should be able to just literally plunk it right in the car and see what happens. I'd like to kind of bolt it down and then see if we can get these drums off and what we got going on there. The guy told me it was good, but it's definitely doesn't want to roll too easy. But I did leave it outside for a bunch of months. So here's what we got. These are, they're a little on the chintz side. They're not exactly round. These are meant to be for a 3-inch tube, which they'll need just a touch with the grinder to fit. But they're obviously different style, and these tri-5s have very narrow ones. So they are the right dealio. They got a little locating pin, which should fit on this. Hopefully it's the right size. I hadn't thought of that. But, oh yeah. So that'll be mint, and then that'll kind of center it up, and then we can, once it's on there, we can adjust the diff whichever way we want. A couple of tack welds, U-bolt, and we're dialed. So I'll set the camera up, and we'll start chopping this thing. Okay, so we got the welder out now. Obviously, we're not going to weld these perches on just yet, but what I do want to do, so these perches, they were a little, well, I won't say goofy, it's just how they were, but they're welded around the edge. They also had 4 big honking spot welds there, and one kind of went into the tube a little bit, so I'm going to just fill those in. Also, I got a little grind happy there. Going to get those, and we'll clean it all up, but that's pretty much that, and the new ones will just go on wherever we need them. A little bit of welding. So I'll get that dialed and then push this inside. We'll crank the heat on. Next time you see it, hopefully this thing will be kind of sitting on the axle, or the leaf spring, sorry. Jack it up, put it all together. Okay, so we're under this hot rod. Now, unfortunately, it's not really a perfect angle to show this. Now, step 1, we have the rear end centered between the leaf springs. So all I did there was I measured from the backing plate, or the axle flange, to the little, what do they call little saddles we had there, and made sure they're the same. So I'm just gonna double check it again. It was like 2 3/4 of an inch, and yeah, we're right there. So that's good. Now the next thing we have to control this is where you're on the wrong side, is the tilt of the rear end, right? Now, as you remember, earlier in the video, we measured it with our angle finder, handy dandy, and I just put it on the yoke. It's like a flat little bit, so we'll go ahead and do that. Actually, I brought the light for me, not for you guys. You're really stealing it, but right at, it's like 88. So what I did before, we had it at 89 degrees, unloaded, and 86 loaded. So that's still not gonna go a little bit more. So I have the floor jack kind of on the front of the rear end. Well, that might be too much. Just to bring the pinion up. Oh, that's damn near perfect. So we use it like a teeter-totter. We're just tilting the rear end up. Now what I'm gonna do is ground this thing to the saddle, and we're just gonna give it a couple of tack welds just to kind of hold it. Well, we got the welder set to 11. Okay, hang on. You know what? I don't want my foot right under it. Come on, stupid welder. Oh. Junk tip. You know, someone should have cleaned this beforehand. I don't know who is in charge of the set here, but they're pretty lazy. Man, I go through tips like there's no tomorrow. It couldn't be my lack of preparation or crappy weld. Okay. Let's give her a little tack. Well, that one went nice. One on this side. Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna tack the 4 corners of this, or 3 corners on this side. So the rear end is, what is happening? Man, this tip is just junk. Man, I'm just talking to myself here. So we're gonna go ahead and weld 4 corners, so it'll hold it. Then the idea is we can put the floor jack under the rear end, bring it up, and see what the angle is then. As long as it's what we're trying to get from before, we're pretty close. Then what we'll probably do is jack the front end up and make the car level, and then we'll check what the angle is again. Because again, we're ass end up, front down, so it's definitely not going to be accurate. We're just recreating the exact same setup we had. So I got the rear end in. I thought, okay, I'll check it all out. That was all fine. The pinion was all the same. I was going to show you that. But I was like, oh, I'll take the brakes off. Well, I tell you what, she's a little rustier than I had anticipated. I really thought this thing was going to be in nice shape because it was all sandblasted, and that's what the gentleman believed it was for. And so anyways, that's all the junk that came out behind the drum. When I first got it, I could move one, not the other, and we kind of shook it around. A bunch of sand came out, so that's probably a bunch of sand between there. It is what it is. And there was some oil around the yoke, so it must have oil in it. I mean, what are you going to do? I didn't pay much for this. I probably should have taken it apart ahead of time, but hey, this is when being optimistic becomes fun. So now we're going to take this back cover off. It does... Ooh, I could do it with a bar. It spins, but not nicely. So we'll just get the tripod out here. We'll see what this is all about. Is there going to be any gear oil in there? Is it going to be rusted together? Do I put the old diff back in just for fun? Man, DD speed chop, eh? What? This? Oh, that was embarrassing. So we'll see how this goes. I do have the utmost confidence that it'll be just fine, and just needs a little bit of WD-40 or something on it. I'm hoping to get all these, because all the clean oil that's going to come out, I'd hate to get it all over these bolts, right? Screwdriver would have been smart too. I might might have to go get one. Well, that's on there. All right, what's the over-under on this being perfect? Oh. Oh. Well, that's not great, but it is a posi unit. Ah, shoot. Huh. I don't know what to make of that. I guess it's nice that it's a posi, but definitely a little on the, well, the gears aren't terrible. She's had some water in it though. Huh. I wonder what the gear ratio is. Those teeth look pretty big, so it's probably nothing special. Huh. I'm gonna need a minute to myself. Upon closer inspection, we're slightly fucked. So, I'm gonna see if I can get this thing turning. I just put a wrench on it, get it to move. At least we can keep it a roller. I don't know if I should just put the other diff back in. Don't be like Dan. Check your parts, or buy good parts. Well, at least it's in the car and a whole pile of work. Man, I need some good luck. All right, well, let's take this apart. Put the other one back in. That's sweet. So I spent a little bit of time screwing around with this thing. I got it to roll over. It's pretty chonky. Now, this is I believe it's an 8.2 rear end, based on the cover, out of like early Camaro. So it's what I wanted. I mean, the posi unit's actually nice. Now, I should say it's a bit of a buyer beware, but I didn't pay much for this. I bought this and a transmission, Saginaw, and I think a couple of rims for $200. So, I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm bad. Also, the guy I bought it from, he's like, I don't think he's trying to sell anything bad. He just got this in a lump of parts and didn't really know what it was. So be it. Now, if this was just me and I was just going to drive around and all that, we probably would just put oil in it, run it, change the oil a few times, and call her a day. Now, it is pretty chonky, and there's definitely some pits in the ring gear there. This says, well, that's the math, 1237, so I gotta figure out what that is for gear ratio. But anyway, the fact that we're building this thing to go on the highway, the idea is not to have problems or try to minimize problems. That's why we're doing this whole thing. A new gear set's like $300, so we'll pull this out. We'll put the other rear end back in, so it'll be a roller. At least now we know what we have. This probably would have been smart to do at the beginning of the video, but then I wouldn't have a video, and you guys wouldn't get the buyer beware speech. So, we'll piece this back together, rip it all out. Hopefully it'll go easily. Without the exhaust and the gas tank, I should be able to kind of flip it, flop it over, and put the other one back in, a few bolts, wheels back on, and we're done. I do want to get the motor and transmission over here tonight, and we'll maybe mate those two together real quick. We'll just see how she goes. Frustration may have taken over. Just down the other edge. Thank you.
Are you easy over there?
Yeah. Well, and just like that, we're exactly where we started 2 or 3 days ago, except now we have the rear end in and no brakes, no shocks, and the fuel tank is out. Waiting on that fuel pump, so that should be a funny one to put in. Hopefully everything goes well there. It's coming from Summit, so it should be pretty lickety-split here. I have a bunch of parts for the Sebring. I don't know if I'm going to work on that next. Well, I know I'm going to work on next is this motor. So this LS, 6-liter LS we had in a couple of videos ago. We're going to go ahead and beat it up to that. 700 R4 transmission sitting on the ground. I have all the proper metric hardware. This has a flat flex plate, so I don't believe I need any adapters. I will probably have to slot the holes on the ring gear to match the torque converter, I think. Apparently metric torque converters don't. I don't know what that's going to have in it. Maybe I'll fluke out. So we're going to do that, get this together, and set it in the car. I have my proper mounts. We'll get the headers on. That'll be the next video. So we'll have a motor transmission. We'll have no wiring, so I still haven't ordered the Holly yet, like an idiot. I should have done that. I keep forgetting to. And we'll have no rear end. But ordering more parts. Hopefully Sebring parts will come in as we're working on the wagon. Then we're working on the Sebring. Wagon parts will come in. We'll just kind of keep that going. So 2 shops, 2 cars. Seems to be working out for me. Anyways, thank you very much for following along. If you haven't already, please do me the honor of subscribing to the channel. It means the world to me, and it costs, well, it doesn't cost anything, and I really appreciate it. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Buyer beware. Again, I feel bad for the next few people I'm going to buy stuff off of because I'm going to hit them pretty hard because you know, never know what you're going to get. On the plus side, being depositing it, that's kind of cool. That's got to be worth $300 or $400 anyways, so I should do, well, I'll be even in it, I guess. I'll have a better rear end than expected, and it'll all be rebuilt, so that transmission has 0 miles on it. The motor had good oil pressure. It had, I don't know, relatively low-ish miles on it. Brand new rear end. You know, if I was driving around town, I probably would have risked it, but at the end of the day, we're going to try and make this into a highway cruiser to go see you guys all across America. So, what's another $500? $500, $500, $500, eh? That's how she goes. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.